That's a lot of problems.
Terrible. Like, it wasn't like,
Right.
But why does Hal Jordan have to be an idiot all the time?
Yeah.
Why did Hal Jordan have to be the Green Lantern? Is my question. Like, there were apparently a lot of people who said, especially with it being aimed at the younger generation,
We should have gone with Jon Stewart.
who had grown up with the cartoon where Jon Stewart was the Green Lantern, and kids were asking their parents, why is the Green Lantern white? Yeah, who's Hal Jordan? Why is he white? Where's the Green Lantern? And this was your chance, and you could have brought in a big name to play Jon Stewart, and you didn't.
You know what, though? I don't want any other black superheroes right now, and I'll tell you why. I want mine first.
Who is it?
Suppress. The Pro. I got my own comic and stuff.
Okay.
Go to Phantom. I'll make sure they have more copies.
Hey, if you want to
See, I
get
want
copies
Black
here, I'd be
Panther.
happy to. I sell individual issues.
I think they're gonna get that soon.
I think, yeah, that's gonna happen in 2 hours.
Now, who's your pick?
I don't know. My problem is that at this point I
If
want
I-
Zelda for everyone.
I know.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah, bring me like 2 or 3
I
images.
remember
I'll play
saying
it.
we have the same
I'll
birthday too.
Book fair?
He was. He's
I'm
in
working.
I'll
He was in
you can
the
mail
Firefly
it to me or
movie,
just whatever you
Serenity. He
stop
was the
by.
black guy who was chasing
I brought you some
them.
stuff.
The agent.
Oh, excellent. Okay, fantastic.
I know exactly what
Yeah,
you're
he was
talking
the
about.
government guy.
Oh, that would be great.
I think that's
He'd be
my
great.
personal pick.
I could see that.
So.
I think
Ready
we're
to start?
probably, yeah, let's get started.
Alright.
Sit less like a 5-year-old here.
I'm gonna sit more like a 5-year-old.
Switch your microphones off. Thank you guys for coming out to LJ's. Today we're going to be having a discussion about misogyny and sexism in geek culture. And we have this great panel. I'm John Towers, by the way. You might know me as Johnny X. Besides doing independent comic books, I also am an indie pro wrestler. So they're my credentials.
Yes.
So let me introduce the panel real quick. Chris Rickert owns LJ's. She's a creator of a line of monstrous money dolls, which are.
Right up at the camera.
She's also the sales director for author Peter S. Beale, who is.
Right up there, myself. Author of The Last Unicorn and many other wonderful things.
Marcel, I want to thank you because I sold some of your notes. Our next panel member is Kristen Ross, aka Evelyn Price. Evelyn just won the Amazon Breakthrough Novel Award winner in the romance category for her novel Man Above Reproach, which will be. So she's multi-talented. She has also written indie comics called the indie comic that I know of is I Hate Your Friend or Hate Your Friends. Not I Hate Your Friends. She's a podcaster for Hey Girl. She used to be. She's fronted bands. She's done performance art, and she's also founded Literati. Ashley Negrant.
Nuance.
Nuance.
Thanks to Marcel.
Feel free to come up
Ask
and
those
have all
two.
these little sheets here that are open.
like that. Snagrant.
Negrant. Okay, I apologize.
It's all right.
She's a staff writer for the International House of Geek. She's appeared on Nerds on the Rocks podcast, and she once kicked a pigeon, and she still feels really bad. Our last panel member is Jessica McGinnis, who is a cosplayer, and she also admins the Captain Marvel page on Facebook. Before we get started with the questions, there's going to be some dicey vocabulary thrown around here. So we're going to ask Ashley to explain some of the words, new words that you might be hearing today.
Some of these are new, some of these are words that we might throw out that you have heard used, you think you know what they mean, and you might. Just want to be sure we're all on the same page here.
And if somebody says something that you're like, what the hell does that mean? Just be like, what the hell does that mean? And
Throw something at us, you know, it might get thrown back.
Don't throw the books.
Also nothing sharp, preferably edible things if you have marshmallows. Okay. Privilege is a term that might get thrown out. It's a set of perceived advantages or lack of disadvantages enjoyed by a majority group. Usually you're not aware of your privileges, and it's not something that you should necessarily feel guilty about or apologize for. Just be aware of it. It's you have things slightly better than other people, it's not your fault, it's just how the world works. It still sucks. Male gaze is actually a term that comes from film theory. It's when the audience is put in the perspective of a heterosexual man, and usually it leads to sexualizing or objectifying women. If you saw the new Star Trek movie, there's a scene where Alice Eve is for some reason in her bra and panties for no reason, and she's shot from like an angle that totally shows it off. That's male gaze. And the assumption tends to be that male gaze is the norm in the world. Internalized sexism. It's sexism towards women from women. And it's socially ingrained and reinforced. It's not something that you do, once again, on purpose. A lot of these things are just, you don't realize you do them. It's just how the world works. It's how you've been taught to act. And it's until somebody says, hey, stop doing that, you don't realize you're doing it. Gaslighting. It's presenting false information in order to cause a victim to doubt themselves or their version of events.
I'm sorry, what was the term?
Gaslighting.
Just like the movie Gaslight. That's
Okay.
where it comes from.
Well, I have a hearing problem.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's, I wasn't sure if I heard you correctly.
Microaggressions. So are generally non-physical acts of aggression. They're described as brief and commonplace daily verbal, behavioral, or environmental indignities. They can be unintentional. It's like hanging a sexist poster up at work. It's, a comment you might think is totally fair about someone's appearance that actually makes them uncomfortable. I think they're often unintentional, unless you're a jerk.
Some people are.
Some people are. Information bullying. It's there's two meanings to this. It's either when people have information you don't and belittle you for not having it. Like, oh, you haven't read this particular arc of a comic book. Well, you suck. Like, you are less than me because you do not know this about this character. Or being forced to perform by proving your knowledge. The biggest example I can think of, especially for our situation, was actually a comics pro who, in writing a blog about so-called fake geek girls, claimed that they weren't real geeks because he bet he couldn't make one of them, he bet none of them could name 4 Green Lanterns. The question is how many guys could name 4 Green Lanterns, but they don't have to do that. Rape culture. It's the normalization of sexual assault in society. Comes sometimes from online harassment and threats of rape as seemingly acceptable, as a response to a woman you disagree with, dehumanizing women, a hypersexualization, or portrayals of rape as entertainment or character building. Fridging. This actually comes from comics. It comes from the term women in refrigerators. It's killing or injuring a female character solely to motivate a male character or cause him emotional duress. Comes from the Green Lantern's girlfriend was killed by a villain and shoved in a refrigerator for him to find. It is literally putting a woman in a refrigerator.
Gross.
Yeah.
It was awful.
I mean, seriously, if I find out in my refrigerator, I just wouldn't eat it. Anybody.
Now you're anti-cannibalism.
I was gonna say she might be tasty.
No, I can't stop.
For anti-cannibalism, Orson Scott Card is
Sorry,
so
didn't mean to
spicy.
Can we offend Orson Scott Card?
All the time. That is my goal in life at this point.
I think just by making out.
Later. Intersectionality. Intersectionality is very important. It is remembering that not all experiences are this.
It ties in with privilege.
It ties in with privilege. You can't separate out.
Areas of oppression.
Thank you. I blanked on that. Yeah. If you are a woman and you are a black woman, you cannot be sure if this is coming from, if what you're being oppressed as comes from being black or being a woman. And there are certain oppressions that only apply to black women. And, it's the same to be said for different sexualities, the difference between being cis and trans. Cisgender is aligning with the gender you were born as. Didn't have that on my list.
Yeah.
And that's about it, unless anyone has anything else to throw out there in there.
I think we're good.
Okay.
And I learned a new horrifying term. I was not aware of fridging. I was
Really?
aware
You
of
weren't?
the concept, but I've never heard that term used in that.
Have you ever watched any of
Horrifying.
the Anita Sarsky videos?
Okay, you'll have to write that down for me later. Okay, awesome.
Feminist
Or-
frequency, check that stuff out if anything we say up here delights you or horrifies you. Delights and horrifies you.
So the reason that we're here, right, is because some comic book creator went ahead and did something stupid.
Went ahead and did something stupid all at the same time.
And the one that kind of pushed this event into action was about cosplay, right? And Jessica, if you could kind of talk about that, the main kerfuffle about what happened.
Wait, I don't know, what specific incident?
Do you want me to talk about, it's there was a comic book creator who complained that, he wrote this big long screed on his site, and he basically said, I'm so tired of these fake geek girls who can't name four Green Lanterns. If you have an actual...
I have the statement, but talk about it until
so he basically said, these women, they show up in these costumes and they're really just there to be looked at. They have no intention, because apparently the whole point is to sleep with someone at a convention. They have no intention of actually sleeping with someone. They just want all these guys to look at them so they can feel really great when they turn them down. He went on to discuss things like the fact that he doesn't appreciate the body types of many of the women who dress in cosplay. They are not attractive to him, and he actually said they're not attractive to me, and so they shouldn't be there.
That was in the apology.
He actually, he said things like, for example, a lot of the women who choose to dress cosplay and go to these shows, they have big boobs, but not good big boobs, like really bad big boobs. And then I'm thinking, my God, do I have the right big boobs? And just the whole point was, how dare these women show up at our conventions? They're our conventions. They're for the comic book creators, who I guess in his world are entirely men. And they're just ruining everything for everybody, and they're not going to sleep with you anyway, guys, so don't be fooled. And Kristen and I both got really loud and annoyed online and said, damn it, we're going to have a panel about this, and the event was born.
The full statement is longish. I don't know if you guys want me to read it. A dramatic reading of it might actually.
We only have 2 hours.
Let's see. I can't.
By the way, the guy's name is Tony Harris.
Okay. I can't remember if I've said this before, but I'm going to say it anyway. I don't give a crap. I appreciate a pretty gal as much as the next hetero male. Sometimes I even go in for some racy type stuff, keeping the comments PG for my lady's sake. But damn it, I am so sick and tired of the whole hot cosplay chicks. I know a few who are pretty cool and big shocker love and read comics. So in all of these things, they are the exception to the rule. Here's the statement I want to make based on the rule. Hey, quasi-pretty not hot girl, you're more pathetic than the real nerds who you secretly think are really pathetic. But we are on to you. Some of us are aware that you are ever so average on a daily basis, but you have a couple of things going your way. You're willing to become almost completely naked in public, and you're either skinny, while most of you think you are, or you have big boobies, which is the part I mentioned. Notice I didn't say great boobies. That's in there. I didn't make that.
This is, we're quoting here.
You were what I referred to as con hot. Con hot. Well, by my estimation, but according to a lot of average comic book fans who either rarely speak to or never speak to girls, some virgins, all unconfident when it comes to girls, the one thing they have in common, they're being preyed on by you. You have this really awful need for attention, for people to tell you that you're pretty or hot, and the thought of guys pleasuring themselves to the memory of you, hanging on them with your glossy open lips. This is all in his mind. I just need to remind you. After many years of watching this shit go down every 3 seconds, or in front of my booth at table at any given con in the country, I put this together. Well, not just me. We are legion. And here it is, the reason why all of that sickens us. Now, this is all in capital letters, so technically I feel like I should scream it, but because you don't know shit about comics beyond whatever Google image search you did to get ref on the most mainstream character with the most revealing costume ever. That's not all of it. And then the apology was just as offensive. The apology.
He's a comic book writer.
Yeah.
What is he?
He's an artist.
Oh,
What does he draw?
He drew Starman, who did most of Ex Machina.
oh, okay, he says that. Okay. I'm
That was,
curious if
that was
anybody-
the initial
Yeah.
thing where this all started, and I got a hold of you and was like, do you want to do this panel?
I'm curious if anybody's reached out to his lady and see what do you think about your dude? Because
Nothing publicly.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is Jess's
Yeah.
chat.
The Lady hasn't spoken up right. So.
She's
She's
just
in a
praying on
fridge.
it.
Jess, do you want to comment on?
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. Yeah, like I said, just kind of bear with me today. Like I said, this is I've done a ton of panels. This is the first time I've ever done one that's outside of like LGBT issues.
Okay.
So just like I said, bear with me. Okay, I started doing cosplay, and I can give you like my favorite character in the world is Carol Danvers, formerly Ms. Marvel, now Captain Marvel. And this one of the things I can give an example as far as that would be the costume. The old costume was a little more revealing, and let me say, I have that costume. If I was ever fighting crime, that's not the costume. You know, I mean, I'm constantly, picking the wedge out of it. And for those of you who haven't seen it, it is actually, it's just a bodysuit, okay? And she was basically made in the 70s to be a female copy of another, of Marvel or Captain Marvel, it's like the whole She-Hulk and, I guess at the time, female characters can't be their own characters, they have to be a carbon copy of a male character. Well, the nice thing is that she's actually probably one of the only characters I can think of who actually replaced her male counterpart. I mean, now with that came a costume change. Now, keep in mind she was an officer in the U.S. Air Force. The old costume, I never understood how she would be taken seriously in that costume as an Air Force officer. The new one now is a flight suit, essentially. It has a zipper in the front, it's fully, the only thing that's exposed is the face, and yeah, that's really the face. People had a shit fit over that. And it's me running the, I know this also with cosplay too, because I can tell the differences in how people react to the, to the costumes and everything. But running the Captain Marvel Facebook page, I've noticed, first off, the people who support the new costume are almost overwhelmingly women. And the only people that can complain about it is because they want to see more skin. That's the only reason. I'm noticing that also with cosplay. Cosplay, as I mentioned, me walking around, Anthrocon or whatever convention I'm out dressed like Ms. Marvel, I don't exactly feel covered, So there is the self-conscious. Now, it's not about me exposing myself or showing off these parts. It's because I want to emulate what is my favorite character, and as that comment is, there's a lot of people who do talk down to me because, it's like, oh, look at the blonde girl, isn't that cute? She thinks she actually knows something,
Do you ever get quizzed? Like, does that ever...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to hit me on, like I said, Captain Marvel knowledge, I'll beat their asses. I mean, I don't have it memorized or anything like that, but I can whip out her social security number. So, yeah, other characters, and I openly admit I'm more of a Marvel girl. I don't know much. I wouldn't be able to name the 4 Green Lanterns because I don't know as much about DC, but you come to me about Marvel.
Do you think that this guy's opinions reflect a lot of male opinions?
You know what? There are a lot of supportive males out there, but the ones who are assholes, yes, that's a perfect, perfect description.
The big problem with it is the whole thing seems to imply a undercurrent that there's a faction of people that think that cosplayers are doing that to get attention.
Yeah.
When the actual cosplayers are doing it because they love their characters, or maybe they want to learn about their characters. They maybe don't. Maybe that's their first time. A lot of people come into geek culture now as cosplayers. Like, they start with a costume they like, they learn about the character from there, and they're getting barred by people like Tony Harris that are saying things like that.
Well, and stuff like that from Tony Harris, and something that I remember going around a lot when this statement was first made, was, pointing out the amount of time that it takes to make a good cosplay costume, especially with some of these more intricate costumes. And the fact that you don't put that sort of time, especially if you're an attractive girl, you don't put that sort of time into getting laid at a con. Like, I'm sorry, you put that sort of time in something because you love it, because